Federation versus Freedom by Baba Sahib Ambedkar. 5. 1. Part 2. There is no doubt that the accession of the Indian states to the Federation is to be perpetual so long as the Federation created by the Act is in existence. While the Federation exists, there is no right to succeed. But that is not the real question. The real question is, will the Federation continue even when the Act is changed? In other words, the question is this a perpetual union with no right to succeed, or is this a mere alliance with the right to break away? In my opinion, the Indian Federation is not a perpetual union, and that the Indian states have a right to secede. In this respect, the Constitution of the United States and this Indian Federation stand in clear contrast. The Constitution of the United States says nothing as to the right of secession. This omission was interpreted in two different ways. Some said that it was not granted because it was copy recognized. Others said it was not excluded because it was not negatived. It was this controversy over the question, namely whether the right of succession was excluded because it was not recognized, which led to the Civil War of 1861. The Civil War settled two important principles. One, no state has a right to declare an act of the federal government invalid. Two, no state has a right to secede from the Union. In the Indian Federation, it would be unnecessary to go to war for establishing the right of succession because the Constitution recognizes the right of the Indian state to succeed from the Indian Federation if certain eventualities occur. What is a perpetual union and what is only a compact is made nowhere so clear as by Blackstone in his analysis of the nature of the union between England and Scotland. To use his language, the Indian Federation is not an incorporate union because in a union, the two contracting states are totally annihilated without any power of revival. The Indian Federation is an alliance between two contracting parties, the Crown and the Indian states, in which neither is annihilated but each reserves a right to original status if a breach of condition occurs. The Constitution of the United States originated in a compact but resulted in a union. The Indian Federation originates in a compact and continues as a compact. That the Indian Federation has none of the marks of a union, but on the other hand it has all the marks of a compact, is beyond dispute. The distinguishing marks of a union were well described by Daniel Webster when, in one of his speeches on the American Constitution, he said, "The Constitution speaks of the political system which is established as the government of the United States. Is it not doing a strange violence to languages to call a league or a compact between sovereign powers a government? The government of a state is that organization in which political power resides. The broad and clear difference between a government and a league or a compact is that the government is a body politic. It has a will of its own, and it possesses powers and faculties to execute its own purposes. Every compact looks to some power to enforce its stipulations. Even in a compact between two sovereign communities, there has always exists this ultimate reference to a power to ensure its execution. Although in such a case, this power is but the force of one party against the force of another. That is to say, the power of war. But a government executes its decisions by its own supreme enactments is not war, and by its own supreme authority. Its use of this force in compelling obedience to its own enactments is not war. It contemplates no opposing party having a right of resistance. It rests on its power to enforce its own will, and when it ceases to possess this power, it is no longer a government. In the light of this, the following fact should be noted. The Act does not ordain and establish a federal government for British India and the Indian states. The Act ordains and establishes the federal government for British India only. The federal government will become a government for the states only when each state adopts it by its instruments of succession. Again, note that the subjection of the states to the federal government is not to be for all times. It is to continue only under certain circumstances. It is to continue so long as certain provisions of the Act are continued without a change. Thirdly, where change in the provisions is permissible, such change shall not bind the state unless it agrees to be bound by it. All these are unmistakable signs which show that the Indian Federation is a compact and not a perpetual union. The essence of a compact is that it reserves the right to break away and to return to the original position. The end.